Okay, so now let's get to the NFC North preview, and let's start off with the Chicago Bears.
The
Bears. Joe, what do you got here? Let's go.
So let's start off with the wide receivers here. You know, obviously everybody knows DJ Moore. Like he's like the savior of Chicago at this point. He's their number one option. And then they bring in veterans like Keenan Allen, a guy who I thought was never going to leave the Chargers. I thought he was like a lifer there. I was going to retire a Charger. And here he is heading over to Chicago to team up with DJ Moore.
I'm happy when I'm playing.
They drafted in the first round Rome Odunze that some people speculated was going to fall to them, and rightfully so. And he did. Can't pass that up. So they take him, who was much highly touted around the league as being a top 3 type of wide receiver coming out. So they get some great value there. After that, you start to look at their backups, and I'm not really thrilled with it. I mean, I understand that they have some decent, halfway decent players that can come in and maybe rotate in or whatever, but nobody that's going to really push for a job or anything. So there's really no competition in the second layer of their receivers. You got Tyler Scott, you got Velus Jones Jr., who's been with Chicago, but still hasn't been able to carve out a spot, and now he might not ever see one. DeAndre Carter, who was formerly with the Raiders, formerly with the Chargers, makes his way over to the Bears. So more of a return man than a receiver. But that in the end, that's it. Like you have your starting lineup that's pretty solid and looks exciting for Bears fans. But after that,
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I mean, this is the way you're looking at it. This is the team right here. I mean, because, again, those guys in the back, there's nobody really here to talk about. The guys that have kind of that are, I guess, young for some, but then also you got, like guys like Dante Pettis who've been around and just kicking around. So who knows, just trying to barely make a team. So.
How many teams has that guy been?
A lot. Yeah. So his time is gone. He's going to be one of those guys where nobody wants him, and then all of a sudden he's just going to come out. He's like, hey, Dante Pettis decided to retire. Like, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Right. Yeah, no big deal. It's just because he was forced into it. The receivers are pretty good. We like it. We're excited. But again, not a lot of depth, like you said. So a lot of people try to take this team and say, hey, this is what they got as weapons now. Now, is this the best receiving core, in the division or whatever, and this, that. Take it easy again still, too, because, again, any moment here, one of these guys go down because, again, Keenan Allen, known for injuries.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, depending, he is great. We get that. But very injury prone.
One other thing, too, is like, are Bears fans really confident in their head coach, Matt Eberflus? Like, this guy has made questionable decisions throughout last season, whether it be like a game time decision or a play that he wanted to run in certain situations. I don't know. I didn't put the stamp of approval when he got hired with Chicago. I was like, this is an odd hire. Like to me, it surprised me. So he's got to do something this year, I think. Like, I understand that he has a rookie at quarterback and you got these new shiny toys to utilize, but I think you got to see something more than just a few wins, like 7-8 wins. So it's like, I got to see more from this coaching staff.
Hey, the ceiling is the roof, Joe. The ceiling is the roof. But a lot of people, again,
grasshopper.
A lot of people, though, again, it's funny when you look at this, and now they've got Caleb Williams. A lot of people just jump on a bandwagon and try and say that Eberflus and this team is going to do so much better. And it's even him that he's one of the who was it? Oh man, I can't remember one of these dumb channels here. And put even Eberflus. I think somebody had even had him at like top 2 or top 3 head coaches in the NFL at this point. And I was mind blown. I'm like, how do you go from this to where they couldn't figure some things out last year? They were winning more, it seemed like, with Tyler Badgett, than they did anybody else, Justin Fields and stuff. So, and they're just a disaster. So, I mean, I don't know where this came from.
Yeah,
but they've got their work cut out in this.
They definitely
division,
do,
though, Joe.
And you bring up Caleb Williams and Tyson Badgett. We'll get to them in a second, but offensive line wise, that was another major concern for the Bears. Like, how are they going to, shore up this offensive line? Are they going to get? They had to improve it, because if you're going to draft a rookie quarterback, you better be able to protect him. And sure enough, like they did, they make their moves. You know, it seems like they played a little bit of a matchmaker, moving Tevin Jenkins. Now it looks like he's going to play left guard. Braxton Jones still locking down the left tackle spot. Ryan Bates from Buffalo is penciled in as their starting center. And Nate Davis, pretty darn good offensive lineman over from Tennessee. He was there a year ago. Darnell Wright, who was their first round pick in 23 to lock up the right tackle spot, is just going to continue to get better. Mm-hmm. So it looks on paper anyways that it's a very solid offensive line, very capable of protecting and opening up running lanes. But get to the quarter or then you go, I'm going to tie in the tight ends with the offensive lineman here. Yep. Everybody knows Cole Kmet, how dominating he's starting to become as an NFL tight end, but they also add a couple of old goats here.
Yeah,
Gerald Everett.
They got full of gold.
Jared Everett and Mercedes Lewis. Like, I am shocked that Mercedes Lewis, I think, is 40 years old, and still playing in this league. Yep. And has everybody has alluded to the fact that like people rate him as like the best blocking tight end still to this day, even with his age. So he adds tremendous value in terms of the blocking game. And Gerald Everett like is more of like that receiving threat. So Cole Kmet, who can do both. Now you team him up with guys that specialize in certain areas. I think that's also going to help the offensive line and the offensive attack.
Yeah, like you said, the blocking was right there, so they can even move him around in some of these schemes here. And vets, that's what they did. They got Cole Kmet there, who's still young, but they got these other vets here too, Gerald Everett too, that can still contribute. And again, to quarterbacks, we'll see what happens with that. And we've talked about Caleb Williams a bunch of different times. Everybody's high on Brett Rippon, what he did in the Hall of Fame game right now too. So it's kind of funny too, but that's what you do. You put your stuff out there to see what happens and see if another team maybe likes you if they want to try and move you or whatnot. But DeAndre Swift, that was big here. And this is where I thought Philadelphia kind of screwed up here. I was like, why you shell out the money to get, Saquon Barkley? I kind of get it, and you steal, your running back from your rival and stuff like that. I get that too. But DeAndre Swift played amazing last season. He probably would have been a hell of a lot cheaper he
definitely would have been cheaper
to keep there for a long time, and he was very effective. I thought that was strange how they were just willing to move on, and he finds a spot here in Chicago. So I really like this backfield here with Khalil Herbert and DeAndre Swift in the backfield, Joe.
Yeah, unfortunately for Khalil, he's always injured. He can't really last. So that was to be the workhorse though. That was the reason why they pursued running back as a position to attack so aggressively, because they needed to get one. They needed to get someone that they know they could probably rely on and every down and what have. Swift is honestly probably one of the more underrated running backs in this league right now. Like, the guy is tremendous. He can do everything extremely well. And why he ever got out of Detroit, I still don't understand. Because just imagine in a world with DeAndre Swift and Jahmyr Gibbs would be insane right now. But I digress. So here he is, Swift in Chicago, going to be a Bear this year with Herbert. I do like that 1-2 punch. And you're right, Jim. Like, it's going to alleviate some of the tread on the tires for this season for both running backs. And don't forget Rashawn Johnson too. Rashawn Johnson, drafted in 23, started to kind of come on as of late last season and really kind of carved out a nice niche in short yardage and goal line carries. So I look for him to kind of return to do the same thing. You're going to see a multiple back system here with Chicago, and it's going to pay off big time for Chicago, because it's going to help keep these guys healthy through the course of the season. For Caleb Williams at quarterback, you touched on Rippon and Bagent, Chicago's darling and Tyson Bagent. Caleb Williams is now the new guy that they all love, and he hasn't even done anything on the football field yet. He's done things in practice, and yes, he's made some nice throws and what have you, but again, let's wait and see live action before we start to crown this kid as being the next savior of another franchise here. Caleb Williams, he is limited. I'm curious to see if he works through all those things in training camp so he can be ready for week 1. Because I'm telling you right now, week 1 might be a culture shock for Caleb when he's going to be facing definitely a defense that's going to be hungry to get after him, to pressure him, to make him make mistakes and what have you. So I'm still waiting to see what Caleb can do because he hasn't been able to play yet in live action. So maybe next week we'll see in a preseason game where they at least give him a series or two and might get a small dose of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we touched on the defense real quick. Again, they were like a top 20 defense, and Eberflus is supposed to be known for defense. One thing that they did excel at was interceptions. They were first in the league in getting interceptions. They're all over on that, which you win a turnover battle. That'd get you somewhere, you would think, but still the team only finished at 7-10, not doing very well. And again, offense was the issue too on top of it. So, they did eventually get Montez Sweat, which was a great addition for this team. So that was a big thing for them. So they have some other additions on here too. So, I mean, they did focus on the defense to try and get this team better on that side. But mainly offense was the side of the ball they wanted to get better at. But we'll see in this tough division here on what kind of a difference they can make.
I do like the fact that they brought in free agent Andrew Billings, who I think fits extremely well in this defensive front line. A nose tackle that can take on 2 blockers and still create pressure at times whenever you need him to, and a guy who doesn't take much plays off. So I think that's going to pay off great. Having him side by side with Montez Sweat, he's going to be able to take on the blockers where Montez Sweat is going to be free to be one-on-one most of the time. And then when you look at the linebackers, studs like Tremaine Edmonds, yes, he's getting up there in age, but he still gets the job done, still gets everybody in position. TJ Edwards from Philadelphia, I was a huge fan of him with the Eagles, and to see him go to the Bears is they had such a gaping hole at that position that it was like they went all in free agency. When these guys were available, they just went all in, and they grabbed him, got him into the facility and didn't let him out, made him sign that contract. And then when you look at their corners and their safeties, just like you mentioned, Jim, number 1 in interceptions. This is a team right now that they have some youth too installed in Tyrique Stevenson, who's up and coming from the draft in 23. Jaquan Brisker, who's making a name for himself. He also was taken in 22. Kevin Byard was the interesting addition for me.
Yeah.
Had 1 year in Philly. They didn't really look to re-sign him. He ends up going to free agency. He goes to Chicago, and here's Chicago, who was in need of a safety because they decided to move on from Eddie Jackson. So it's like a revolving door of safeties going from different teams. Byard lands here along with Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon. This secondary right now, if Tyrique Stevenson can live up to the hype out of training camp, this secondary is going to be very, very difficult to deal with for any offense, let alone their whole entire defense. So I fully expect the defense to hold it down just like they did a season ago. But now, if Caleb Williams can answer the call and deliver the football to his weapons in order, reading the defenses, making the right calls at the line, I think that you're going to see not only a much improved offense, but now a team that is ready to win, maybe possibly get into the 9 or 10 win range.
Hey everybody, this is Big John from Grumblings Media, and I just want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our efforts here at Grumblings Media, just smash the subscribe button right here, totally free, or just go ahead and consume more of our great content. Click either one of these 2 boxes.